What's good, y'all? I'm Dan Titus. That's Justin Henry. Now let's get to the points. We're coming out of the All-Star break, and week 17 is going to continue on. We got 4 more days left of this week, so it's going to be really important because this is the home stretch for a lot of fantasy leagues. The standard leagues playoffs will start week 22. So we got to start talking about playoff stashes. And Justin, we got some really good names to talk about here, man. And the one off the top that I want to talk about is Keontae George. What are your thoughts on him and how he could play for the rest of the season?
You know, we've talked about this a lot, Dan, and just those young players with increasing minutes and increasing roles. And for this Utah Jazz team, Keontae George has been a light, especially as of late. So this is a player, when you start to think about fantasy playoffs or potential ads later, you want to think about players who can start to score the ball a little bit more, get to ask to do a little bit more on the court. And Keontae George is already, we saw him in the Rising Stars channel. This is a player who they do want to get more involved. So Keontae George is a player that I think you should be looking for, especially if you got a playoff spot already sewed up. This is a good player to have on your bench.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think a lot of fantasy managers started to jump on this right during the All-Star break, not even before his Rising Stars challenge and how good he looked there, but he dropped a career-high 33 points with 3 steals right before the break. But I really like what I'm seeing from him through the month of February, man. He's averaging 15 points, 5 dimes, and almost 3 assists. And one of the things I got a chance to talk to him about while I was at All-Star Weekend was like, how are you coming along and progressing as a rookie? And he's like, Chris Dunn and Jordan Clarkson have both been really helpful in trying to give him that confidence and that he can do this. And now that he's been named the starter, at least for the foreseeable future, I think he's got a lot of upside going forward. And when you look at him, at least from a rostership standpoint, he's still available in 55% of leagues. So I would make a move to jump on him if you haven't already.
Yeah, that's a good player, man. And when you talk about young players too, you know, sometimes there's players that go drafted highly, right? And we're thinking of maybe they haven't performed as we all expected them to. And you and I talked about this at the top of the year. Scoot Henderson is a player that did take a little bit longer to develop. Now, I know he said he thinks he still has a chance of Rookie of the Year. That's not a case, right? But this is a player who is increasing his role. And one of the things that, you know, I start to look at, expert fantasy players start to look at, is playoff schedule. And the Portland Trailblazers are the only team with 4 games in each of this Yahoo standard fantasy playoffs. So in the fantasy playoff weeks, each week, the Portland Trailblazers play 4 games. Scoot Henderson is going to get a lot of volume, see an uptick in minutes, and he's been playing well as of late as well.
Yeah, man, I feel like it's Scoot's season. Chauncey Billups already said that he's going to be starting the rest of the way. We already know what Malcolm Brogdon's situation is. This man just can't stay healthy. So I feel like the way that Scoot's been playing, even though he's going to struggle with efficiency, might be a bold take, but I feel like he's going to be a top 75 player in points leagues the rest of the season. And I feel that way because of what I've seen from him in February, man. He's averaging over 18 points with 6 dimes. He's getting the rebounds as well. I feel like Scoot's going to learn and honestly just have not that much competition to really get those minutes and be productive in fantasy. So I don't know where I'd rank him in head-to-heads because he's, you know, the efficiency definitely drives his value down. But for points leagues, I'm all in.
Yeah, he's a player, like you said, in category leagues, maybe it's a little bit of a knockdown. But for me, Scoot Henderson, man, I like the way he's come out a lot more, especially. And you talked about it. The only thing that we're going to see with him is the efficiency dropping in points leagues. You know, we don't care as much about efficiency.
Not at all. And like one thing that I wanted to bring up, man, because there's a lot of teams that feel like are in this point of, where are they in the standings? Are they trying to get their young players more involved? Or like, what teams need to see more out of somebody? And one of those teams I think is the Washington Wizards with Corey Kispert. He's a guy that's played well whenever he's been given the opportunity to play. We know what he can do from 3 ball. Like, the guy is definitely a bucket from deep. But do you think that there's a chance that maybe we see like Kyle Kuzma get shut down? You know, they want to give minutes to Bilal Coulibaly down the stretch, but I feel like Corey Kispert could be a guy that many fantasy managers might be sleeping on towards the end that you may want to stash.
Yeah, especially here over the last, few games, over the last 7 games, he's been averaging over 16 points a game. So we know the uptick is coming. And yes, this Wizards team is not very good. And you talked about players who could potentially be shut down, Kyle Kuzma being one of them. We don't know what they're going to do with Jordan Poole. He hasn't been playing as well as we had thought. So this Wizards team coming into the final stretch here is going to be leaning on their young guys. And guess what? They kind of need to see what they have as they go into this offseason. So Corey Kispert's a guy who's been getting more minutes off the bench, seeing an uptick in scoring, and I think his role is going to increase here as the season goes on.